I think what I'm most proud of is that I set a goal and intention for the book of what I wanted it to do, and it's doing exactly that, or like what I wanted it to be. And I think this is even when you and I were talking, because rightly you asked me these questions about like, why are you writing this book and who's it for and what do you want it to do? And I think even back then I said, I want this book to be like the Pocket Tamsen. I want it to feel like just I want to, as closely as possible, recreate experience of what it's like to work with me, right? So that someone was getting the full benefit in book form of the best, what I've learned over years in doing this work. So that's, I think, the main thing. I think the second thing that I'm really excited about with the book is that I think I achieved a level of simplicity and clarity with it that I am not entirely sure that I believe myself capable of going into it, because I think that's been a challenge for me of the simplify, and make sure that it's super, super clear. And it seems like the book has met those marks for people, at least based on what they're saying back. And I think the third thing is what's striking to me about the book and what I'm very humbled by is how often people refer to it as being transformative for them in some way, how it really shifts how they think about talking about their ideas, structuring content, structuring stories, just even about how they think about how they engage with and talk with other people. So all of that's been very rewarding. I write a lot, frequently with newsletters, and I had tried various things where people were like, "Well, just take all your newsletters and rewrite those," and I was like, "Ooh, that's not working." But I spoke with a mutual friend of ours who had talked about your process, and that seemed, and from what I understood, from what Hamid was saying, from what our friend was saying, that you helped kind of talk through. You just basically have a conversation, then captured the results of the conversation in a document form. And I remember saying, like, that's it. Like, I can talk this, I just can't write it. And so that's what I really wanted, was a way to break through this block I had about sitting down and filling a blank page. What I was hoping to get, and what I absolutely got, was a starting point that was not blank, right? Like, I just wanted to start from a non-blank page. And the work that we did together really helped fill those pages. Much of the structure of the book as it is now is the structure that you and I laid down in the beginning. Understand, I think, first and foremost, who didn't already know this process didn't understand in what I was saying. It was a really useful early exposure to really needing to be clear about what I was doing, how, why, what kinds of things were going to be helpful and not to a potential reader. I think that was particularly helpful. I'd say the probably the most significant thing is that it helped really outline the shape and structure of the book. I know you helped me determine kind of just roughly mentally, like, what it needed to do and what kind of space and in what kind of organization. And talking through that, particularly given your knowledge of other books and the publishing industry and all of that, really helped to give me a place to bounce off my ideas. And I said, well, like, I want to do this. Does that make sense? And you would say yes or no, or what if we flip this and that? And I remember one of the biggest things that you helped me with was kind of really shifting it from, and this may sound strange, but this was exactly what needed to happen, from kind of this big idea book, which was led with story and whatever, to something that was just super, super practical. And I think it's far better for being that, because now that the book's out there, that's what I hear from a lot of people. They were like, there's just so many books that, will introduce an idea, they don't tell you how to do it. And there, the fact that it is how you do the thing I talk about started with your really searching and structuring questions about what we were doing, why and how, and what would be the best to a reader. I would say that you're a wonderful partner in helping to clarify thinking, in helping to capture that thinking in a very natural way, since it was essentially like an extended interview. I think for folks that, like me, struggle with of the overwhelming nature of a blank page or an empty screen, that you are a critical and supportive partner, critical in an important way, not critical in a constructive way, that you are an incredibly supportive partner in that process of filling that blank page and the empty screen. Writing was a process. This really was, I think from the I should write a book to in my hands was probably a 3-year process, mostly because of my own writer's block and procrastination and all of that. So really like the feeling of having the book in my hand was relief. But also it was pleasure in a way, because it was exactly what I hoped it would be. Like it really was the embodiment of, it looked the way that I wanted it to, it read the way that I wanted it to, it captured what I wanted it to in the way that I wanted it to, and it just felt right. And that was incredibly rewarding as well. I hope it becomes one of those books that people love and always have nearby. That's how I envisioned it when you and I first spoke. It was a book that, even though it's available electronically and will eventually be available like from an audio form, I wanted a book that you really wanted to have the print version of it, because it was a book that you went back to. And I'm really excited just to see what it unlocks for people. I mean, really, truly, one of the reasons I wrote the book was because so many ideas fail at the point of articulation. And I think that's a terrible reason for ideas not to get out there, especially when I had developed a way that seems to get them out there a little bit easier. And it makes it a little bit easier to articulate them in a powerful way. So I'm really excited to see how it shifts, what ideas it releases upon the world. But I'm also curious to see if, there's hidden kind of, or not really hidden, but underneath the book are some, I think, quietly revolutionary perspectives on how to do this work. And I hope in some small way it starts to change the needle on how we approach any form of influence with people and kind of the mental mindset that we bring to bear when we do that. And I think that as much as that it's a process that you've well established, it struck me that it's also one that you personalize to the people that you're working with. So it's not, while there are other companies, let's say, and whom I will not name, that definitely have we interview you and then write your book for you, essentially. Your process is really one where I never felt like, okay, we're going to do X, then Y, then Z, and then like, boop, out pops a book. It really was something that you took incredible care with making sure that it worked both for me and for the book that I was talking about producing.